Hey guys, now that you know how to set up an actual business manager account through Facebook, we're actually going to go through and start talking about how we actually create an ad. This particular video, we're going to go through an example, some of the features that you can do on an existing ad or an existing post that was already made to your page. So to get started, we're just going to navigate to our Ads Manager page and dashboard. Once that loads, we're going to just click this green create box here to get started. So one of the first things it's going to ask you here is what type of a campaign are you trying to accomplish here? So similar to the standard view within Facebook, you have several different types of objectives. In our case, we're talking about doing ads as a power sports dealer. So we're probably not going to worry too much about app installs unless you're a dealer that has an app to market. Primarily what we're going to focus on is driving traffic to our website and engagement of posts. Some of you may play around with lead generation or messaging, but typically what we're trying to do is we're trying to create awareness to our dealership website and create more leads, not necessarily use Facebook to generate more leads. We want to use it as a means to get in front of people, drive them to our dealership website. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an engagement campaign. I'm going to look at one of my posts I've already made on my website, and I'm actually going to create an ad spending money with Facebook to blast that out to more folks within my target audience. So I'm going to hit engagement, and then I'm going to, the first time you do this, it's going to ask you to set up an ad account, select your time zones, and then we're going to be choosing a particular audience. I'm going to show you how to create a lookalike audience in this particular video. It's going to look something like this. So when you actually get to your audience section, you've got a few more features that you don't typically get when you're doing boosted posts on Facebook. So if you hit this little create new icon, you can do one of two things. You can create a custom audience or a lookalike audience. A custom audience gives you the ability to actually upload a bunch of names. Say you've got a contact list from an email campaign you did. You could choose to actually upload that into Facebook and target only those people that have Facebook within that email campaign. However, one of the recent new features that I would encourage most of you to start with from a basic standpoint is a lookalike audience. A lookalike audience is nothing more than an algorithm that Facebook put together to say, we want to target the people that look most closely like to your current page followers. So if you have 2,000 page followers, it's taking in consideration those 2,000 people, what they like, who they follow, friends they're with, and what Facebook is going to do is by spending an ad with this audience, you're only going to reach the people that are closely related to your current followers. So once this dialog box pops up, you have to actually go to other sources and hit your actual page. And then it's going to ask you for a location. By default, it only lets you use a country. So we're going to choose the United States. Once we get to the next step, we're going to narrow it down to our specific area. Obviously, we don't necessarily want to advertise in California if I'm a dealership in Virginia or my business is in Virginia. The last step of lookalike is how closely do we want to target our lookalike audience? Do we want the top 1% most closely related, or do we want, the top 10%? So the 10% will be people not quite as closely related to our current audience. 1% will be most specific. Once you have that set, and again, it'll give you a little bit of an estimated reach here. In this case, the top 1% of everybody in the United States, it's going to be about 2.3 million people. From my standpoint, it's actually going to give me an error message when I do this because I have created a fake Facebook account that only has one follower, right? So you need to have, several hundred followers on Facebook for the algorithm to actually work. But very, very important to use that lookalike audience to target your specific demographic. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the location. So as we went over in more basic videos, you can choose to target certain cities. You know, if I want to target Richmond, Virginia, and within that, I can choose, you know, up to a 50-mile radius. I can add another city. So I can say I want to target Richmond and Washington, DC. Again, choose your radius around that particular audience. And you can see as I'm adding more cities, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to I'm going to try to find ways to narrow this even further. But you can see I've got 7.2 million people that are in this particular filter. Another thing you can do is you can actually use, you can't do this on your standard Facebook page, but you can choose to target people who are physically in this location, so using Facebook's location services, or just people that are living in the location. So, you know, if you want to just catch anybody who happens to be passing through to see an ad versus only targeting people who live in your area, that's another feature with Business Ads Manager that you get. Demographics, as far as age and gender, no change there. Choose your age, gender. You can actually include languages. Detailed targeting. So for this particular ad, what I want to show you guys how to do is to target a specific audience related to a current offer. In this case, the Heroes Advantage offer. Heroes Advantage is eligible for military members, veterans, healthcare workers, policemen, firemen, first responders, etc. So we're going to create an audience that lives in these circles that are most similar to my page, and now we're going to actually include some job titles. So I'm actually going to go to demographics. I'm going to scroll down to work. I'm going to go into industries, and I'm only going to check the industries that are eligible for our Heroes Advantage offer. So as an example, if we scroll down here and we see healthcare and medical services, so doctors, nurses, those folks are eligible for Heroes Advantage. Notice that took our 7.2 million down to 100,000. Now we're also going to target veterans. It's probably going to raise it back up again, 150,000. Active military members. It says global, but because we took those certain those locations, those cities, we're only going to target military people in those particular cities. So those are some industries I'm concerned about. They don't have a industry for first responder, but fear not, we can actually search for first responder and make sure it's a job title. So first responder job title, we're going to target all those people. We're going to talk about policemen, job title, make sure you don't have an interest, firefighters, job title. So now we've created a very, very targeted ad in a certain region that only is going to target people with these types of demographics as far as work goes. Okay, you can do more for time's sake. I'm only going to keep it to those particular demographics, but you could even narrow it even further. Okay, then it's going to ask you for your budget and schedule. So you can choose how much you want to cost per day, or even set a control as to how much you want to pay per click. So if it gets to be where it gets to be too expensive for people to click on your ads, you can actually set budgets so you don't spend more than X amount per click. And then you want to set what type of schedule you want. Do you want a daily budget? Do you want to have a set end date for it? I would highly encourage you to set an end date, because if you just have it run continuously and you forget and you're spending $11 per day, that can get pretty expensive if 2 months down the road you forgot you still have an ad running that isn't even relevant to a current sales event. So I would highly encourage doing a set end date. So once we have our audience and budget set, we're going to actually get into the content of the actual post. And this will take a little bit of time to load. All right, so the nice thing about the engagement post feature is what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to actually select a previously made post. So I also want to make sure that my Instagram is set up correctly so I can maximize the amount of reach on all my platforms. So under your Instagram account, you don't see your Instagram account listed here, that means your Facebook page isn't linked to Instagram correctly. Make sure you do that. But under the existing post, you can actually start from scratch, but I'm actually going to go and select a post that I've already done. So these are all the posts that I've already made. And I'm going to scroll and hit this guy right here. And boom, it's going to pop up that image. In this case, a Hero's Advantage, banner. Now, one word of caution here, okay? Text typically does not have is not going to have as good of a reach as just banners or pictures from your inventory without text. So be very, very careful with this, because Facebook may kick this ad out and not allow it to run because there's text in this image, okay? So you may, if you're doing the Hero's Advantage, you may just want to choose some photos of your inventory. You may want to take a photo of the American flag outside your dealership. You know, maybe a slideshow of, you know, some healthcare workers, some firefighters. You know, you got to be creative. But in this case, since we're doing an existing post, I'm just showing you this one because I already posted it on my account. So from here, I can also do some pretty specific things. So I can actually change the call to action. So instead of send message, I can have it set to shop now. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to change my call to action button. Okay, so if I scroll to, right now it's showing what this ad is going to look like on my mobile newsfeed, which, by the way, this is another really, really cool feature that you don't necessarily get as well on your standard Facebook page. It gives you a very clean preview of what this ad will look like on the various platforms this ad will reach. So if I want to look at what it's going to look like on Instagram, I scroll down to Instagram and look at that. If I want to see what this post is going to look like on mobile newsfeed or instant articles, desktop newsfeed, you can see that. And as I change this call to action button, change it from shop now to get a quote, update your post, you can see that call to action button changes for you, okay? So a lot of flexibility here. In a future video, we're going to show you how you can actually unlock Facebook Pixel. But once you have an existing post targeted, you've customized what that call to action is going to be, you've previewed what that looks like on your current, on your various platforms. Once you have all this set, you're going to go off into confirm. It's going to confirm your items, ask you to plug in your credit card information, and move on from there. So that's the quick tutorial on how to use Facebook Business Manager, Ad Manager to create an ad out of existing post. In my next video, we're going to show you how to create a carousel ad or a new post.